Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, Master League Premier is once again available. It is the meta where you can play Master League, but no legendaries are allowed, which leads to some very interesting Pokemon coming out on top. Today, I'm going to use my 98% level 50 Shadow Snorlax, one of my favorite Pokemon that I have, pair it up with the Florges, which got that Fairy Wind buff, and also Primarina, which got that Hydro Cannon addition to its moveset with the recent Community Day. Obviously, Snorlax's Body Slam did get nerfed recently, but it's still a very strong pick. And if you want to see these kinds of battles live, I stream my battles basically every day at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. So make sure to check me out there if you want to see this kind of gameplay live. All right, well, let's get into the battles and see what this team can do. All right, getting right on into game number one here. Shadow Snorlax in the lead up against a Florges. All right, so when I first made this team, I actually had no idea how this matchup played out. I kind of forgot, actually, at the start of the day that Body Slam did get nerfed, which is so bad for Snorlax here. I was looking at the simulations here on PvPoke. It looks like Snorlax, the only shielding situation that you actually actively win is going to be if you go down 2 shields and the floor just doesn't shield at all. It's because Body Slam is so much weaker now than it used to be, and also the Fairy Wind damage, it adds up so quickly after the Fairy Wind buff. It is a terrible matchup here for Snorlax, but I'm trying to play it out. It is not as bad as you might think, despite what I was just saying. Like, I'm chipping it down, right? This thing's getting pretty low, but as you can tell, I'm not even in the range where I can lick this down just yet. The Body Slam damage, definitely getting the nerf there, you can definitely tell. And they get the attack drop. I don't need this in my life. I make a catch here on our Primarina. Maybe there's still a chance we can win this game. I stored some energy on our Snorlax, and maybe our fairy types in the back will have some play. Well, this is giving me a little bit of hope here. We're going to see the Hydreigon come on in. It's a dark and dragon type Pokemon, so what's it doing coming into our fairy type? Obviously running Waterfall. We don't have a lot of fast move pressure here, but what we do have is the ability to bait and potentially use our second fairy in the back if we do happen to see another Pokemon weak to fairy type damage. They're going to throw a move. I know this thing has Flash Cannon, but they can't go for a cheaper move there. They have to go for the full nuke if they want to knock us out, and we're going to bring in our Florges, try to knock them out with Fairy Winds, and see if we can farm them all the way down here. I don't want to risk getting a no shield on a flash cannon. That would basically knock us out here, but they just end up going for a bait on a brutal swing, which is a little bit awkward here, but I think they're just still at another brutal swing. They don't quite get the flash cannon, so we're going to farm them down, have energy for the back line, and maybe there's still a chance we can win this. It is going to be another Pokemon here in the back that's weak to our fairy type Pokemon. Florges is popping off now that we took out their fairy. We can go just for fairy type damage spam. We have back-to-back disarming voices. I guess I could have gone for just double Moonblast, but triple disarming voice will also do the trick. We can take this thing out. We have one move loaded right here now. We can knock out this Conkeldurr, which after the counter nerf is so much slower than it used to be. We can take out this Conkeldurr, and there's a little bit of health left over on both of their remaining Pokemon, but I think we can just fast move them down, overcome the Florges lead, and show that the fairies are just so strong in this meta. The reason I'm running Waterfall and Primarina, by the way, is to give myself a little bit more flexibility in some of the worst matchups, like this Steel type, right? For example, that Goldengo would be so bad for our Primarina if we had Charm. We actually have a lot of play into the Steels, running Waterfall and the Fires if we happen to see them, and they safe swap a Chestnut this game, though. That is a very interesting pick. I don't have a Chestnut myself built for Master League, but this thing I have to imagine actually is kind of safe as long as you don't see a lot of Fire types, or maybe like Metagross is probably a pretty bad pick against it. But the fairy types as well are not what it wants to see, but these frenzy plants are adding up. Yet another Moonblast attack drop here, it looks like. Now we're going to be able to survive that move, get to a disarming voice, and since I know that our Primarina has Waterfall, it has Hydro Cannon, I'm not that worried about switch advantage against the Goldengo, and it looks like they do want switch advantage here this game. I can come in my Shadow Snorlax, and despite the fact that I know I can't really knock them out here with just one move, I'm going to be able to farm up, try to get the lick damage that I can, have energy for the backline, and they just go for a Frenzy there. They don't want to debuff their defense stat, because if they did, it would be a much easier farm down for me. I'm going to go for the superpower here, guarantee the knockout, and then I'm hoping right now that 2-Shield Primarina has what it takes to win this game. Looks like their final Pokemon is going to be an Ursaluna, another Pokemon that having the direct water type damage of Waterfall will be very helpful for, and we're going to just spam out these Hydro Cannons here against this Goldengo, try to farm them all the way down with Waterfalls, and then just start spamming out charge moves against that Ursaluna. They don't even throw any energy against us. They're just trying to fast move us down at this point, but that means I still have 2 shields loaded. I have my Snorlax with some energy, and I am going to be able to land this Hydro Cannon against this Ursaluna. They will get the full tackle down, and I have seen a couple different movesets on these Ursalunas. Some run Trailblaze, some run Swift, High Horsepower, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch. It is so hard to tell the moveset on these bears, but we will be able to still win this game no matter what. Looks like this one will try to Trailblaze us, but we have the Body Slam loaded. There's not much they can do at this point. We can just go for the Body Slam, take out this stupid bear, and win the game. Obviously, lick damage is resisted by those normal type Pokemon, so a little bit of a bad matchup for Snorlax, but we were able to chip it down with our other Pokemon. All right, another fairy type in the lead, although this one is so much better than the Florges, right? Because because you can see they don't have as much charge move pressure here. They're running Charm, so it's just a lot of fast move damage. But against this matchup, the 2 body slams will start adding up a lot quicker. They're going to be able to 2-shot this thing. I'm going to get shields from them a lot earlier, or we're going to knock them out and have a lot of health on our Snorlax. So it really depends on how they want to play this out to see if our Shadow Snorlax is going to have a lot of play this game. What are they going to do here? We lick them almost into a range where we can just farm them all the way down, but I do have to throw this right before their next Hydro Cannon will be thrown against our Snorlax. They actually opt to let that go, and then they try to farm me down here with Rhyperior. This is where superpower coverage is kind of massive for us. I'm either going to get a shield or a big chunk of this Rhyperior's health, and they do end up shielding that move. I'm going to save swap, though. I can't let that full farm down happen, and it's a good thing I did, because we see in the back is another Goldango. I don't know how everyone has one of these. I guess I need to do some better work grinding out Gimme Ghoul XL Candy, but everyone seems to have one of these up here, so I'm just going to have to try to beat this with our Fairy-type Pokemon. I don't want to take that next Astonish. I'm going to throw my Hydro Cannon immediately, because I want to force that Rhyperior to have to throw a Rock Wrecker against our Primarina. This Hydro Cannon will knock out this Goldango at this point, and now we're going to hope that our Florges has enough in the tank to beat this Rhyperior in the back. Luckily, we do get 2 more Waterfalls, put them about at half health here, which I think will be range for a Moonblast as long as we can survive a Rock Wrecker and get to it in time. What is our opponent going to do? I'm thinking at this point, Florges is pretty bulky, right? Even if they did throw the move, which I think they had it, but they didn't want to throw in bad timing, it wouldn't knock us out. We could survive that, and this Moonblast is more than enough to take out this Rhyperior and take that game in our favor. All right, Shadow Snorlax, another Rhyperior, this time in the lead. A bit of an awkward matchup, but I do reach the superpower before they're able to reach a Rock Wrecker, so I'm going to instantly throw the superpower, swap out to our Primarina to try to get a bit of fast move pressure against them, and to try to make it so this thing can't just farm me all the way down. They actually let that superpower go, so now that I got 2 Waterfalls in against this, I think they're going to be in range where I can farm them down with either Licks or Fairy Wind damage. In comes their backline Pokemon. It's going to be a Florges, so now we know 2 of the 3 Pokemon. What could their third be? Hopefully something that we have play into with our own Florges here, but they do end up shielding our Hydro Cannon. This is not the best matchup in the world, right? Because I know at this point, we're in range where Moonblast plus Fairy Winds would knock us out, and we don't love giving this thing energy because we don't have a great way to deal with it later on, but we are able to get to 2 moves before they do, so I'm hoping that they let this go, so it's going to be a little bit easier to take out with our backline. They do let it go, and now I can hard pivot to our Shadow Snorlax, try to fast move them all the way down. I think I survive a move here, but it would do a lot of damage if it's a Moonblast, and it looks like that is a Moonblast, but they get the Moonblast debuff again? That's like the 3rd or 4th Moonblast debuff already in this video in like 3 or 4 battles. What is going on right now? We do actually see the Shadow Machamp is their final Pokemon, but that attack drop means that they can no-shield that with no consequence. They're taking way less damage than they would otherwise. It's a Shadow into a Shadow. If I got that damage undebuffed, I think we'd be in a much better spot here, but because I did get debuffed, I don't think I can farm this thing down anywhere near as easily, and I'm going to be forced to either throw 2 moves or take a ton of damage on our Florges. I'm going to attempt a catch here, but we don't quite get it, but they try to call the catch, but I just farm them down anyway, so that is kind of helpful, I guess. But we're going to go for the Disarming Voice here against this. We have to throw at the last second, or else they get to that Moonblast, and they do CMP us here, which is not amazing, but at this point, we know that we can either farm them down or get the Moonblast or the Disarming Voice against their Rhyperior. If they no-shield this, it's going to be a fast move race to see if I can take out the Rhyperior. Just barely they survive on 1 HP. That attack drop on Moonblast, absolutely critical there, made it so that Machamp had so much more play than it would otherwise, but GG's to them, very well played. All right, next matchup against the Primarina in the lead. We saw how good this matchup is. This is another Charmer. I saw a lot of people running Charm. I'm like the only one I saw running Waterfall, but I think, honestly, Waterfall as a safe swap is incredible for Primarina. But since this is on Charm, I know I outpace him to these first moves, and now another Pokemon that's kind of an interesting pick gets brought in. It's going to be the Golisopod. So they still have some energy left over on that Primarina. They just wanted to get fast move pressure in, but I think they needed a little bit more fast move pressure if they wanted to start threatening my Snorlax. This thing is running Shadow Claw as its fast move, which our normal type Snorlax very much resists. So they're never going to be able to farm us down here, right? It's just going to be down to if they can land charge moves against us, and our Licks are adding up. Our Body Slams, despite being nerfed, are also adding up quite quickly against them. I don't really need my Snorlax anymore. I can put this into farm down range for either my Florges or for my Primarina, depending on what I think the energy is going to be a little bit more useful on. They actually don't knock us out with that charge move there. We can get the full Fairy Wind down, save our Snorlax as a potential catch if we need it. And now we see their final Pokemon. It's a double Shadow Claw Water type in the back team, a triple water in general. That is kind of a crazy team comp, but we land the Moonblast. They try to call a Disarming Voice bait, but unfortunately for them, I just full sent it there. I knew if I got shields down or if I guaranteed the damage, we'd be in a great spot here. I shielded that Hydro Cannon, and we are going to throw this Disarming Voice against this Feraligatr. We want to get one of these shields down. They have a lot of shields still remaining, and I know they still have that Charmer in the backline, and I'm pretty sure a Hydro Cannon from a Shadow Gator does more than anything that that Primarina would throw, unless they're running like Moonblast or Hydro Pump. If it's a Hydro Cannon, I know that we take less damage than we would if that Gator got one off against us, so I think that was the right shield. In comes their Hydro Cannon, we get the Disarming Voice through, and I think even though we are running the Waterfall variant, which does generally lose a mirror match against the Primarinas, I have chipped it down into a range where Hydro will knock them out here, and I'm going to be able to win this game with Primarina closing us out. GG's to our opponent there. All right, Shadow Snorlax into another water type. One thing you're going to really start to realize about this meta is there's a lot of viable water type Pokemon. There are some electrics, well, mainly it's going to be Magnezone, right, to counter the water types, but Magnezone is so risky in a meta where you're seeing Mud Slappers, you're seeing counter users. Every now and then you see fire types like Skeledirge or potentially Chandelure even. And we make it a catch here on our Primarina because there's no move Gyarados can throw that's anything more than resisted damage. But what is this? That is a Roserade. I don't know what I'm gonna do this game. This is a terrible matchup. They resist everything that we throw here. We at least made the catch with our Snorlax. As long as their backline isn't a hard answer to Florges, maybe there's still some hope for us. But this is terrible. This is about as bad as it gets right now. At least we made the catch, right? That's the one thing that I'm keeping in my mind. We drained some energy from that Gyarados. We got some use out of Primarina. At least the Hydro Cannons and the Waterfalls put this into lick down range, but I do have to double shield. These Grass Knots would do so much damage, and I have to take this thing out before our Florges comes in. If that Gyarados comes back, I'm going to have to throw the Body Slam here pretty soon because they are getting close to a second Aqua Tail at this point, but I think that they can no-shield this, probably survive, and unless there's a Dragon type in the back, I don't know what I can do to win this. We are going to take an Aqua Tail here. It won't knock us out quite yet, because Snorlax is pretty bulky, but their final Pokemon is just a Metagross. We can't beat that. Losing to a Roserade in Master League Premier, that was not on my bucket list today. Alright, but there's the fire type we were talking about. That Pokemon is Chandelure, a very squishy, but a very offensive fire type Pokemon. It can ramp up with Flame Charge, it has Shadow Ball, it could have Poltergeist, which is an extremely powerful ghost type attack. So I don't really know what they're using, but I also know with this Chestnut safe swap, what they're going to try to do is they want to farm me all the way down with their Chandelure, have a lot of energy for my backline, but I also know I don't need switch, right? If I have switch advantage and I go down shields, that's like the one way I give them some sort of play with their Chandelure. If I just intentionally lose switch advantage, then I can farm them down with either my Snorlax or my Primarina. I can guarantee that with my Waterfalls or my Licks, there's no play for this Chandelure. They're not going to get a farm down, and they go for a superpower. They tried to get a shield from me there, but unfortunately for them, I didn't fall for it. I called that because I didn't care about switch advantage, and then I safe swap my Shadow Snorlax to give that Chandelure no farm. Snorlax into Dragonite, not as good as you might want it to be, but you force them to throw Superpower if they want to take you out anytime soon, and I still have my Primarina around to take out not only this Dragonite, but also that Chandelure in the back. So since I was saying they need to throw a superpower to knock us out, right? I'm fine just no-shielding this, either force them to throw 2 Dragon Claws or debuff themselves with their move, and they end up just Dragon Clawing me here. They have to throw 2 moves here against our Shadow Snorlax. So even if they did have like Hurricane coverage, they're not going to be able to get to it against our Primarina. In comes that Chandelure. They try to hope that we're weak to this in the back, but unfortunately my Fairy type is running Waterfall and not Charm. GG's to our opponent. Alright, next game. Another Goldengo, a Steel and Ghost type Pokemon. Very cool typing, excuse me, but it is a Pokemon that is very slow to getting to charge moves, so I need to make sure I don't give it a lot of energy this game. That would be my way that I'm going to lose this. If I happen to give him a huge farm down, that could be terrible, but we see that they have a Goodra in the back. The thing about Goldengo as well, I was talking about it earlier, is we don't really need switch against it either. If we get shield advantage, or if we just get a decent advantage on our, what's this thing called? A Florges? If we get a decent, I keep saying like the wrong words. This is a Fairy Wind user, not Vine Whip. It has vines as its fast move animation, but it's using Fairy Wind. Anyway, if we get enough energy from this, then we can get a Moonblast against this Goldengo. I can get a decent amount of chip damage, all things considered. I can safe swap back my Shadow Snorlax. There really isn't much in this meta that Shadow Snorlax can't just beat with energy, or at least kind of have play into. Like even the Shadow Machamps, right? We have a lot of play into that, just with fast and charge move pressure, even though they do super effective damage to us. But since we see that they have a Gyarados as their final Pokemon, we are in such a good position that is nowhere near close to a hard answer to our Shadow Snorlax. We get a shield there, we get another Body Slam off. We are almost at our 3rd Body Slam against this Gyarados. So as long as we can reach it, we can make it so this thing's either shields are all the way down, or we can knock them out here with this Body Slam. We are going to be able to win this match. The body slam does end up landing, and now we come in with our Primarina. I know I can just two-shield my way through this, farm them down. That Gyarados has nowhere to go, and we can take the win there. GG's to our opponent. Very fun team. I love the Goldengo. I really wish I had one of my own. And in this next game, though, we do see the Shadow Hundo Best Buddy Rhyperior against our Shadow 98% Snorlax, so not quite as cool, although ours is also an active Best Buddy, so I guess we have that going for us. We get the shield this time from Superpower, and I know a Shadow Rock Wrecker would almost one-shot us here. I have to respect it. Luckily, it's not a Breaking Swipe bait, and in comes a Florges. Alright, so we've seen this matchup play out. Florges is pretty strong here, but we also have more fast move pressure than them. Hydro Cannon is a very efficient move, and at this point, we're just trying to play this game where we chip them down. I don't think we can necessarily win this matchup, but as long as we can make it so this Florges is nowhere near as big of a threat as it is. Petal Blizzard? We just got blizzarded by this Florges. That is going to one-shot us. I thought I'd survive that move, but them getting that move off is terrible. That means that now I'm not going to be able to get as much fast move pressure as I thought. They only had to throw one move rather than two, so they had a lot of energy there, but in comes their final Pokemon, so they have energy on their Florges. They have their Rhyperior still alive, but I have energy on my Snorlax, and we've seen from our own perspective how bad this matchup is for Snorlax in general, so I'm kind of fine with this. They are up a little bit of energy, and they do have a shield advantage here, which could be a little scary depending on when they decide to use it, but we'll just have to try to play out this matchup, use energy to our advantage, and potentially still have a chance to win this game. They are throwing another body slam here. It's not going to knock us out, but we are getting uncomfortably low into range where even just mud slaps could knock us out from that Rhyperior, or another body slam or a disarming voice from opposing Florges. So we'll have to see what our opponent does. They end up making a fantastic call there, but I also knew a catch was coming. I could have moonblasted them and knocked them out, but I didn't. I just went for the greedy move. I thought they'd shield that, but we don't fall for the catch on this Rhyperior with our disarming voice, and they do survive because they have that shield remaining on this Rhyperior. If this is a breaking swipe, though, our Snorlax is able to survive just barely on 1 HP. The best buddy might actually be coming in handy here, giving us that little bit of extra bulk that I needed. We survived. We got the second superpower through. We knocked them out, and in comes our own Florges. We've seen them running Moonblast, Petal Blizzard, so I know I can overfarm here, get to back-to-back moves. Their Shadow Snorlax has a body sim loaded, so if I didn't have back-to-back here, I would not be able to win this game. But having the back-to-back charge moves allows me to CMP the Snorlax, take the win here, getting a Florges sweep against this backline, just barely taking out the Shadow Rhyperior lead. Very fun team from our opponent. There are a lot of cool Shadows. Alright, next game, Shadow Snorlax into yet another Goldengo. Okay, I guess everyone just flexing on me here with these very cool Pokemon. In comes their safe swap is an Ursaluna. Alright, well, a very interesting team so far. Kind of spicy at this point. I don't know what moveset they're running, though. If it's a Trailblaze, I have to shield it. If it's a Swift, I think even in the two shields, I'd probably just lose this matchup because they outpace us. But this is not looking amazing. I'm hoping that I can still waterfall them down, but this is a pretty decent Pokemon, right? Ursaluna just has a lot of stats. It's a very strong Pokemon in the 4,000 CP range you can see there, and they do outpace us, unfortunately, quite heavily to these Swifts. They do throw another one here. I'm going to shield it up. I'm going to try my best to take out this stupid bear and try to knock out this Goldengo, but we have to keep in mind it has access to Focus Blast. It's one of the strongest moves in the game. It would basically one-shot our Snorlax, but I'm going to hard swap here to our Shadow Snorlax. I cannot give him that farm down, unfortunately. If I did, I would be in such a bad position. And the frame drops there caused me to overtap. I couldn't throw when I wanted. Luckily, we do survive this avalanche, just barely. We get the superpower off, so we will either get a shield here or get the full-on knockout against this Mamoswine. They do let it through, and now we are in a very bad position. It's a Goldengo, up shield, up energy, against two Fairy-type Pokemon in the back. We do get a bit of lick damage, a bit of superpower chip as well into this. That is our one thing going for us right now. I'm thinking if there's any chance for us to win this game, it's by landing a disarming voice and getting fast move pressure to knock them out. I'm just going to go straight for it. I'm going to throw the disarming voice, not even bait the Moonblast. I want them to no shield. That way I can just start committing to fast moves, force them to throw energy against our Primarina, and if they no shield this, I think there's a chance we might still be able to take this, even though there's a Goldengo against two Fairy types in the backline. We get one Waterfall through. Do we have enough health, though, on our Primarina to Fairy Wind this down before they astonish us down? It's going to be a race to the finish here. Our fast moves just barely knock them out in the middle of their final Astonish, taking us the win there and barely closing out that match. GG's to our opponent. All right, Shadow Feraligatr in the lead. Fantastic for our Shadow Snorlax because we have the ability to resist those Shadow Claws. But then in comes a Shadow Machamp. Double Shadow from our opponent so far. And they have Stone Edge coverage. A very spammy Pokemon running Karate Chop and Stone Edge, but luckily Florges is going to be able to shut it down, get shields from it if possible, and potentially still win us this game. We are also going to be able to go and outpace them because of how quick Florges is to this next move. If they shield this up, they're going to be down 2 shields. If they no shield, they're down switch and shield advantage this game, which is not amazing for any opponent in basically any battle ever. You don't want to be down both of those. You want to have either switch or shield advantage, but our opponent has neither, which is fantastic for us. We reach another disarming voice against this Shadow Feraligatr, but they overfarm perfectly. They do have a bit of energy left over for a Shadow Snorlax, but I'm pretty sure that Feraligatr, it doesn't have a lot of just raw stat product here. We should be able to easily survive probably 2 of these, maybe even close to 3 at this point, lick them all the way down, and as long as there isn't a huge core breaker in the back, we should be in a good spot. Well, that is a big core breaker, but I think that we are up enough advantage at this point that we can win this game. A Shadow Magnezone. This is actually a triple Shadow team from our opponent. Very cool stuff, but we can shield up this Mirror Shot. I know that's always going to be a bait, right? They need to bait at that point. They don't win this game if they don't, but I also know that I need my Shadow Snorlax, and as long as I shield, even if it's a bait, we win this game, because I could get a double superpower. They realize that they know their only win con is calling a Body Slam bait, but unfortunately for them, I just went straight for it. I know that my Primarina can basically resist any move that this Feraligatr throws. Yeah, they're just gonna throw an Ice Beam there to finish us off, or to try to finish off the game, but unfortunately not enough to take out our Waterfall Primarina. Alright, Metagross. This Pokemon used to be the king of Premier metas, but unfortunately it kind of got pushed to the wayside with everything just kind of getting way quicker to getting to charge moves, and also Earthquake and Psychic getting nerfs means that it's kind of really bad with its coverage moves, right? If it's not doing steel type damage, it's not doing anything. In comes the Annihilate Safe Swap, though. Very interesting pick. I think in a couple days when Annihilate Community Day happens, this thing might be a lot better in Master Premier, but it is so slow to getting to charge moves. And look at how dominant here Florges is in this matchup. I know at this point this could be a Night Slash, it could knock us out, but I don't want to give that farm down over to our opponent, so I'm fine no-shielding it. It's just a Night Slash, and now we have a Moonblast ready to go against this Metagross. Even though this is resistant damage, it's going to do a decent chunk, about a third of their health, put them way closer to range where I can either just fast move them down or potentially knock them out with a Hydro Cannon, maybe a superpower. We're going to get a Body Slam off as well against their Primarina. Luckily, this is a Waterfall variant, meaning that we have Waterfall of our own. It's not going to be the Charmer, which would be a lot more oppressive fast move based into our own Primarina, but we do have the ability to chip them down with our Shadow Snorlax and make it so we always win this mirror match. As long as we always have energy up on our Primarina as well, we can threaten Hydro Cannons against that Metagross. Metagross does have a little bit of energy left over, but if they ever let this Primarina go down, I know I just kind of instantly win this game. If this is a Hydro Cannon, there's a chance we survive. I'm not going to take that risk, though. I'm going to shield this up, because if they are going to shield, I kind of need to mirror shields myself. I know that we can probably survive a Meteor Mash on our Shadow Snorlax at this point. It would do a lot of damage, but it wouldn't knock us out just yet. It would probably do about 50% of our health here, and they do just commit to this Metagross to try to win this game. Unfortunately for them, Metagross is so slow to get into charge moves, we're able to lick them all the way down there and take the game. Alright, a very, very interesting Pokemon here. A Scizor, not a Shadow Scizor. One of the few Shadow Hundos that I have is a Shadow Hundo Scizor. It's a Pokemon that I'm very happy to have, but I've never actually, invested in it. Maybe it's actually a good Master League pick now. It has Trailblaze, has Night Slash coverage, very interesting Pokemon, but our opponent did instantly swap out to their Goodra here, which luckily we do have a very hard answer with our Florges. Unfortunately for them, they're not running Sludge Wave. I kind of was expecting Sludge Wave, honestly. As a Goodra safe swap, you're going to see a lot of Fairy-type responses. I would kind of think that it would be more important to have Sludge Wave coverage over maybe Thunder Punch or maybe even Aqua Tail, depending on what you want to do in this meta. Goodra is very bulky. These Aqua Tails are doing almost nothing to us. I think at this point we can probably just Fairy Wind them down, and just like I keep on saying, I don't want to give them any extra energy that I don't have to with whatever Pokemon they're going to have in the back, and it looks like they're just going to come in Scizor, knock us out. They did have a little bit of energy, so they get a combo play there. They knock us out, but we have so much energy on our Shadow Snorlax. We've neutralized that Goodra, and this energy is going to go miles against this if they end up no-shielding. But they do end up shielding that move. It's going to do a lot less damage on our second superpower, because obviously after lowering our attack stat, it's going to be 25% less damage, and now I have to hope that I can Waterfall down before 2 Trailblazes are going to be reached. They throw on bad timing there, which is great for me, but I think they wouldn't have got to 2 Trailblazes unless they baited, and it looks like they don't even bait there. They just go straight for it. We shield that up. Goodra is still around, but I have energy advantage on our Primarina. I also have our Snorlax, so we are in a very good spot right now. Your final Pokemon, it's a double dragon lineup. We can go for these disarming voices, try to one-shot them, but they do end up shielding that move. At this point, the way that I'm going to be able to lose this game potentially would be if they make a catch. They throw a move here, it's probably going to be a breaking swipe, so I know I can survive it, and we are going to be able to no-shield that. In comes a catch, though, from our opponent. I tried to wait a turn. I think the game paused and made it so our opponent looked like they were still in, but they swapped out right when I was trying to throw the move. So despite trying to play the game properly. Me waiting the turn there made it so the game didn't visually update, and they did still make the catch. So sometimes waiting a turn, it doesn't work out quite as well as you'd want. We still have a lot of fast move pressure here with our Shadow Snorlax, but the worst thing about this is we don't have any charge move pressure, right? And they're going to get a debuff with this Breaking Swipe. I'm going to have to try to throw something against this Dragapult. This superpower is not going to do a lot, but it should do enough to potentially put them into fast move farm down range. It's going to be close here. I think this game is either going to be a win for us or maybe a tie. I don't think I can lose it, but I think it's looking like a tie at this point. We're going to fast move each other down at the exact same time there, unfortunately, not being able to win the game, losing against Double Dragon with Double Fairy. I guess I shouldn't say losing, right? It was a tie, which sometimes you tie in the Go Battle League. They played very well to get out of that situation. But Master League Premier, very fun meta, as you saw. A lot of very unique Pokemon. You saw some one-offs like the Hydreigons, the Dragapults at the end. There's Chandelure as well made an appearance. But it is very interesting. A lot of flexible play for the most part. Not a lot of RPS. But if you don't have these Pokemon, obviously, it can be a little hard to get into. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I actually stream my battles basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. So if you want to see this kind of content live, please make sure to check me out there. Also, I'm going to upload a lot more to the channel, so if you want to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe. All right, well, thank you again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.